Everyone, my name is Anthony, and in today's video we're gonna check one of the most popular JavaScript frameworks for creating single-page applications with a component-based model, reactivity, and all the cool features called Vue.js. So apart from React and Angular, we have that fabulous Vue.js that got a version 3 a year ago, I believe, and it's just absolutely smashing. So if you decided to build your very brand new single page application, meaning you don't have any page reload, any massive monolithic code, and you decided to make your application more flexible, more component based that you can reuse later on. So Vue.js is a perfect framework for you because it doesn't require huge knowledge to start. So let's dive deep into it. In order to run and create the Vue.js applications, you need Node.js to be installed. So please go to Node.js org webpage and download the recommended for most users version. This is the most stable one. The installation is very smooth. You just click through the installation guide and it's really simple, won't take much time and knowledge. So now, get back to Vue. You go to Get Started. You can read an introduction, what is Vue, how it works, but we need a quick start. And you will need to be a little bit familiar with the command line. For macOS, it is the terminal, right? Oops, I have one. Let's terminate. For Windows, it's the command line, obviously. So yeah, let's start. So we just need to simply copy the npm init vue at latest, and I want my project to be on the desktop, so I go up to desktop and run this command. First of all, we need to create a name of our application, which is gonna be Vue app. Then we don't need a TypeScript, we don't need JSX, we don't need routing, we don't need Pinia, we don't need nothing, basically just the ESLint and prettier for formatting. Now, as it suggests, let's go to cd Vue app here to our folder and run npm install as also they recommend. This will take quite a while. Meanwhile, I will open the project. One moment, Vue app. Yep, 1 second, new window, right. And let me zoom a little bit. Come on, let me pick some file and I wanna zoom it, right? So we are pretty much done, yep, with installation, perfect. Now, let's first of all remove everything that we don't need. I don't need assets, I don't need components. For now, delete. Yes, I don't need any of the dependencies here in the main.js file, and I don't need anything absolutely in the template. I don't need styles. I need nothing basically. Yeah, so now install the dependency. I do have all my dependencies installed. Now, in order to run the application, let's go to the package JSON file and you will see the scripts here. For now, we're only interested in script, which is called dev. So we can go back to terminal and say npm run dev. If you have your terminal integrated with your code editor, it's even better. So now you've got a link. Don't close the terminal, just hide it, and let's go to the link. Right, so we have an empty page, obviously nothing as interesting. Let's start creating our first Vue.js. I also like, to have my template section above. And let's add h1 new Vue app. Oops, sorry. And let's see. Yeah, we have it running perfectly. No errors, nothing, everything is cool. This was an initial error when I was trying to remove all the thing. Right, now, so what is the Vue.js about? Vue.js is about the reactivity, component-based model of the application. So let's create our very first component. For that, we will need to go to src and let's create a new directory called components, for instance. You can name it whatever you like. And let's create a file, let it be homepage.vue. All the Vue components should have a .vue file type. Let's create also the template and zoom it a little bit. Yep, and we also have a script section. And here, let's say I am a home page, right? Now, of course, we're not gonna see anything for now. First of all, we will need to import define component from Vue, the internal Vue method, and let's say export default define component, which will have a name of, let's say, home page, and it's the good practice to name the component the way the file is named, right? Now, if I go to the app view, the by default created component, and I want to use my home page component that I just created, what I will need to do is to, again, first of all, I will need to add another script, where I will import define component. I want to define my app as a component as well, and export default define component, which will have a name app, let's say. And I also want to have components inside, which is going to be an object. And I need also to import my homepage component from the components. This means that we start from the root level, then go to components folder, and then pick up the homepage. And I need to put a homepage component into our component. And let's say below lives home page, right? And we create a component as a tag like this with the closing tag. Now let's see what we have. We have our h1 and we have our component which has hi, I'm a home page. We got it here. So from now on, the home page is a child component of the app, which is a parent component. Now also, in order to use the full power of Vue, we absolutely need to have the Vue Devtools. So let's go to Google and write Vue Devtools. Open the Google extension, and here you will see the Vue Devtools, an installation button. I already have it. Just click it. It will be automatically installed, and you will see that thingy on your sort of the browser top bar. Now we go back to our application, and you will have a Vue tab next to network console or elements. You can, if you click it, let me make it a little bit bigger, you will see components, some timelines, a bunch of other buttons. But now we want to, let's refresh. Now we have app as a component, and we have a child component homepage. So congratulations, you have your very first inheritance, let's say, and relationships between components. They are pretty static and nothing interesting here. So what I want to do is to display some generic message. Right? How do I do it? And it's going to be generic message. For now, it's just a static text, but I want to have it as a generic. So what we do we create another script. We can actually have it in two ways, but I will show it to you actually now. So how you create it? We need to create a setup function here below the name. And let's say const message is gonna be some generic message. And now we need to return it from our setup function. From now on, we can use it directly here using the double brackets and the message here. And let's see, some generic message. We can also click homepage and we will see we'll now have a setup. We have a message variable here with the generic one. Awesome, right? Now, if I want to make it a little bit in a different way without the setup, I can do it pretty much same way, but here, how it goes. So I create another script, but with the setup attribute. And here I just say const message equals some generic message. And that is it. Save, refresh. And I have it the same way. The only difference is between script setup and having a setup function is that in setup function, you need to return it in order to use in a template. Script setup gives all your variables and functions ability to be automatically available on the template. That's the only difference. So if you need some dedicated list of elements you want to have an access from template, you can use a setup. If you want everything to be in a template accessible, use the script setup. Right, now I want to have something more generic and interesting. For instance, I want to have a button. I want to have a the counter, span counter, let it be 0 for now. And I want to have another button. So one will increment, another will decrement the counter. Let's see. Yeah, I have it. Let me just move it on the next line. Okay, we have button 1, button 2, but obviously nothing is happening. So let's do what we know. Let's create a const counter equals 0 and put it here. Then I want a button to do some click event. You add a add symbol and click, and here it needs to be a function. So let's say increment counter, and we need to go and create it again. Const increment counter is a function that will do something, and let's prepare our decrement function as well. Here, and put it actually on the click decrement, right? We have it, but nothing is happening because we didn't do anything in our functions. So let's say I want to have my counter plus plus, but I have it underlined because obviously what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to override the constant. For that case, we have a import ref from Vue reference. So we don't want to modify directly the variable, but we want to modify it reference. So I need to change it a little bit and say that counter is a reference now. But still I can't modify it directly because applying the ref will create a value inside of that counter that we need to reference. And for the decrementation, we need a minus minus. Let's see what we have now. We have a home page with a counter, which is referenced now. We have two functions, and let's click increment, and we're gonna see the incremented value and decremented. Works absolutely perfect. Now, I want to do displaying and hiding an element also on some condition, let's say. So let's create a actual div style margin top 200 pixels, and we will have some paragraph lorem ipsum, and we will have a button which will on click do show hide element, let's say, right? And show or hide. Now we're gonna create the function const const equals a function that will do something. And let's see, yeah, we have an element, we have a button, but nothing obviously is happening. Now, how you make an element to hide and show depending on a condition. Vue has a bunch of internal directives, which starts with v dash, and you can see there are a lot of them. For show and hiding, we have the if or the show directives. I will tell you the difference later on. So the if something. So we show this element if true or false. So let's do it. Let's call it a text handler. Text, yeah, whatever. And let's create it. Here we say const text handler. Again, the reference, and it's also reactive, which is gonna be true by default. Let's see. It works. Homepage, we have the text handler, which is true. And now what we basically need to do, we need to say that this handler value equals to opposite. So we want to switch it, right? Let's see what we've got. Show, hide, it's showing. Perfect. Now I also want my button text to be show if it's hidden and hide if it's visible. For that case, we can do it this way. We can just write a JavaScript ternary expression and say that if text handler is true, then I wanna hide it, or opposite, I wanna show it, right? Let's check this out. Show, hide, show, hide. Absolutely fantastic, right? The difference between, as I said, difference between vif and vshow, visually, you don't have any difference. It will work the same way. But if we open the elements and check it, now we have that paragraph. If we hide it, it will have just the display none. But if we change the vshow to vif, nothing again changes, right? But now we will have it completely removed from the DOM, from the document object model. That's the only difference. Now, also one of the most popular stuff that people do when they develop is basically rendering a list of elements. So let's have another div container, which will have a div class list inside. To render a list of elements, you first of all need a collection of those elements. So let's create some collection. Const collection equals, in that case, if you deal with objects or arrays, Vue suggests to use reactive instead of ref. So we use reactive, and we have a list here with objects, and let's say we'll have a name, John, an age, 50. We will have also two more. Let's be Tom 12 and Sam 23. And now, in order to render it, we need to go to our rendering element that we prepare and use again the v4 directive from Vue.js, which looks like item in your collection. Item can be anything. It can be element, it can be just I, And also it might have an index, but you will need to wrap it in the brackets. First is an element, second is index. Don't mess it around. But we don't need index for now, so let it be just item. Now, apart from looping through the collections, it's mandatory to assign a key. If you don't assign it, items, you will need to, you will have a highlight. Elements in iteration expect to have key directives. So you need to kind of make every element unique. So we add a key, and let's say it's going to be item name because they all have unique names. And now let's add some span, which is going to be name and have an item name, and it will have span age, which will be item age. And that's it. Let's see what we've got. We have a list. We have this div class list item, actually it should be, but no one cares. List item, and we have the name and the age. And if we go to view and check, we'll have that collection with elements. Everything is super perfect. Now, last but not least, how we gonna deal with inputs, because most likely you will have a bunch of inputs and forms on your application. So let's do it. So let's create an input, type text, and I want to see what we type when what we enter into the input somewhere. So let it be like a paragraph input value, and it's gonna be here. Let's check this out. Yeah, we have an input, we can type, but we don't see anything. We don't see any according variables and stuff like that. So first, I wanna create a variable input value that will display the value of the input. Let's create it. Let's collapse the collection and say it const ref null. It's gonna be null by default, right? Because input is empty. And now I need to somehow populate that variable from the input. And again, we have a perfect directive, which is called vModel in our view. So we just simply binding the input with the variable, and let's see how it's gonna go. So first of all, we got this input value, which is empty. And now if I type something, test, it will be populated and automatically rendered on the page. This is super easy and everyone can do it, right? This was the very, very basics of the Vue.js, of the component-based model on reactivity and stuff like that. In the next video series, we will create the proper web shop, online shop, with the catalog, with product items, and with the checkout, with centralized data storage, with routing, with maybe even fetching some data from some demo APIs. So yeah, stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Hit a like and subscribe if you liked it, and see you in the next videos. Cheers.